Hey everybody, it's Holly here, and today we're going to create a fun Halloween card using the Lawn Fawn set Booyah. We're going to go ahead and start out by using a stitch rectangle die. I'm going to die cut a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm just kind of figuring out where we're going to put the little ghost at, and trying to get an idea of what the layout's going to look like. So I'll go ahead and die cut that. And now that I've die cut the rectangle, I'm going to go ahead and place it onto a cutting board with some low-tack painter's tape, because we're going to be using some distress inks to watercolor with. And you can really attach it to any kind of hard surface that you want. And I realized I needed to put down my craft mat underneath my work area there. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some hickory smoke and some black soot distress ink, and I'm going to put that down onto the mat, spritzing the cardstock with a little bit of water. And then I'm going to use a paintbrush in a cup of water and just wet the paintbrush, and then bring the ink into the cardstock and try to create a nice little cloudy area in the background there. Just kind of layering it with some smoke first, and then some black soot, and then I'm going to use a paper towel here in a minute to kind of dab it off a little bit to get it lighter. You want to start out light because you can always add more color. If you go in full dark, then it's really hard to kind of come back from that. So I recommend you always start out lighter at first. And then I needed a piece of plastic, and I just happened to have the stamp set on the desk, so I just took the backing sheet off, and I'm going to go ahead and do some ink smooshing by just putting the acetate into the ink and then bringing it to the paper. I'm just going to heat it with my heat tool. And I'm just using the acetate again to just bring in some more drops. You're going to get more ink's going to show up when you do it onto your dry cardstock as opposed to when it's still damp. Then you can just put the acetate right back on the stamp set. All is good. So I'm going to clean up my work area a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and dry that. And as you see, as it dries, it's going to lighten up again. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside, and then while that's setting aside, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the images. I'm going to stamp 3 of the little ghosts using some Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I'm stamping on a piece of 80-pound Nina Solaroid cardstock. I'm going to do some masking so that you can have the costume accessories are right on top of the ghost's head. I'm just using some sticky note paper, post-it paper I guess is what it's called. I'm actually going to stamp these a couple times because I wasn't liking how I had the placement, so you'll see me go ahead and stamp them a couple times. I'm still getting used to how my camera is set up, so it's a little awkward for me to see what I'm doing. So that one there, you can see I kind of got the witch's hat on top of the head a little bit better. And I'm going to do the same thing with the Frankenstein. You'll see I stamp it twice. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish stamping these images, and then we're going to go ahead and start coloring. before we get to go ahead and color the ghost in, we're going to go ahead and add some white splatter to the background with some white picket fence spray stain, and I'm just using the little applicator that comes in the bottle. I'm just kind of flicking it on. This just takes a few minutes to dry, and we're actually just going to clean up our area here a little bit, and then we're just going to set it aside to dry, and it'll be all ready when we're done coloring in the little ghost images. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start coloring with the Copics, and I'll put a list of the markers up on the screen. now that my images are all colored in, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of clear Wink of Stella glitter gel pen to the ghost images, and a little bit on the witch's buckle and the little stripe that's in the Mrs. Frankenstein's hair there. This just adds a little bit of sparkle to it. Then we're going to go ahead and fussy cut the images out. I don't have there are matching dies for this stamp set, but I just like to go ahead and fussy cut them. So we'll go ahead and fussy cut them, and then we'll be right back. Okay, now that my images are all fussy cut, I'm going to go ahead and cover the edges with some Tuxedo Black Memento marker. This just cleans up the edges and makes it look like you. Just gives it a nice clean finish if you have any rough edges or anything. Then we're going to go ahead and take our background off of the cutting board. You want to make sure you pull the tape away from you so that it doesn't rip the surface or anything. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on a black standard A2 size folded cardstock. I didn't apply any adhesive because my cardstock already had some on it, so I didn't need to put any adhesive on the white watercolor piece. And I'm just kind of placing my images down to figure out where I'm going to put them. And this was totally a card made from scratch. I normally don't do cards from scratch. I normally already make the card, and then I make a duplicate when I make my videos. When I stamped the sentiment, I was off camera and you couldn't see what I was doing, but I stamped the sentiment onto a scrap of watercolor cardstock using some VersaFine black ink. And this is from the same Booyah set, and then I just trimmed the ends of the sentiment strip. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down with some dimensional adhesive. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere the ghost down with some dimensional adhesive as well. And I'm not going to press them down firmly. I want to make sure I have them in the right position before I secure them. That way you can pull it up and move it if you need to. That's the good thing about dimensional adhesive. Any kind of foam tape is like that. If you don't push it down hard, you can move it around if you need to. Once I have everybody in place, and go ahead and make sure they're secure. And then I'm going to use some Tombow multi-adhesive to secure the broom onto the little ghost in the center there. And then I'm also going to secure the speech bubble that says Boo directly onto the background by the witch's hat. I used some purple on the witch's hat for the band, so I wanted to bring a little bit of that in with some enamel dots, so I'm using these sprinkles from Doodlebug in lilac. And that pretty much finishes off the card for today, so I will see you guys again sometime next week. Thanks for watching.